I spent my whole damn life in the city. I could go for broke, but the capital is in me. I spent my whole damn life in the city. Anywhere I go, DC's coming with me. I spent my whole damn life in the city. I could go for broke, but the capital is in me. I spent my whole damn life in the city. Anywhere I go, DC's coming with me. I spent my whole damn life in the city. I could go for broke, but the capital is in me.
Welcome, everyone, to District Divided, a DC sports podcast, more specifically, a Washington Commanders podcast. I am Amit. That is K-Dot. K-Dot, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. How was your container ship trip?
It was about as well as it could have gone, and I'm feeling the effects of it right now, as we were discussing beforehand. Not a whole lot, but you make do with
false
what you
walls
can.
and it's real tiny and stuff.
Your
Not to mention
reality.
all the sex traffic people that you were with.
This is a Commanders podcast. Why don't we go ahead and talk about the game? So the Commanders lost to the Philadelphia Eagles for the second time this season, 38-31, this time at home. Although if you were at the game, you told us that it was about 90% Eagles fans. So basically another road game just happened to be played in Landover, Maryland. But a 38-31 loss for the Commanders. There were glimmers of hope in terms of winning the game. It did not happen. So we're going to begin by talking about the game. Then we're going to talk about trades. Do we expect any to occur? And then where to from here, concluding with the comment mailbag, as we always do. K-Dot, 38-31 loss.
Yep.
Sam Howell looked good. Offense was fun. It was an entertaining game from that perspective. But we gave up 38 points. So we have the inconsistent offense. We have the inconsistent defense, or you could even say the consistent defense, which consistently just leaks points. What'd you make of the game today?
If I were to look at it in the sense of like positives and then going into negatives, which there are a lot more negatives than positives. Positives, like you said, I saw when the game was ending, I pulled up Twitter or X, whatever the fuck it is you want to call it, and there were a bunch of people attacking Sam Howell. I'm like, did y'all watch the same game I watched? What the fuck? Sam Howell is an NFL quarterback. I think that as far as any question marks that anyone had going into the season is one of those questions we need to answer. He's an NFL quarterback. Where his ceiling is, not sure yet, but the motherfucker can ball. If the only takeaways you have are the two drops or misses to Terry McLaurin at the end of the game, and that's the only thing you took away from it, then I'm sorry with you, and you got the fucking attention span of a fly. Who gives a fuck? Like, you're just a dummy. He played his ass off. Great job. Eric Bieniemy. I've had a lot of criticism for him. I have some criticism in this game, but overall, what I've been wanting, and even on the last podcast that I talked about, quick passes, screens, getting the ball out quick, all the way up until that fourth quarter, that last second for Zahn Reddick, he wasn't sacked. And it looked as though, we kept talking about what it is you need to do game plan-wise to keep them upright. They did the damn thing. Now, with that comes the passing game, the way that they attacked that defense, I thought was immaculate. There were a few things on the screens that look a little sloppy still, but overall, getting the ball out was great. The biggest thing for me when it comes to Eric Bieniemy and this offense is the running game needs to be completely fucking rehauled. I think what you notice more than anything, I know it was glaring in certain portions of this game, but the glaring, if you go back, and I start looking back at some of the All-22, we telegraph run so fucking hard. It's insane because we run out of shotgun. We run out of shotgun, and they don't do two backs in the backfield. They don't even have, Curtis Samuel was hurt at some point in the game, but they don't even put two guys back there to threaten, or which way are we going to go? If you see a guy back there and or if the ball gets handed off, you know exactly what direction they're running in because you have to run that way when you're doing the handoff on the fucking, unless it's a draw or a really delayed handoff, you know exactly where the run is going to go. So it never looks like it's going to go anywhere, so you can't establish anything. That, to me, has been a glaring thing. It's the reason we don't run it on short, because as soon as they line up, everybody's like, all right, well, the only one place they can run. Like, it's so fucking telegraphed that it's insane, which is why you see third and short, fourth and shorts, whatever, the dropping back and throwing the ball, because everybody knows what's going to happen if they run it. So, like, that part of it, to me, is just pedestrian as fuck and needs to get figured out. That's all the positives I have. Like, that's pretty much it.
So to be clear, you have your positive of Sam Howell, which was, again, his stat line, 39 of 52, 397 yards, 4 touchdowns, a pick. Easily his best day as a pro, in my opinion. And he passer rating of 114, and the most impressive stat, only sacked the one time. It came at a very inopportune moment, but that's only one sack is very, very good. And then your other positive is we need to rehaul the running game. Is that right?
There's hope for that, right? There's
Okay.
like me saying, hey guys, you can do different things there. Like there's at least. So look, going into this game, I remember I went and I did the 2 different storylines that I thought could happen in the game, right?
Mhm.
And one of them included, hey, the offense might get right. They might show that they know how to attack and get the ball out quick. I didn't think that we were capable at a certain point, but they showed me this game. They showed me that they can learn and they can do something. They can get the ball out quick. Jamison Crowder looked fucking good in the slot today. Like it was, they showed that they could do it. To me, if you're going to do the run game, it's a couple things. Line up under center more. Put 2 guys in the backfield. Let Sam Howell run the ball sometimes. Because even if it's a design run to Sam Howell, at least the defense says, all right, it might be going this direction when Brian Robinson, or maybe Sam's holding it. But they don't even have to guess that. They're not even guessing. They know exactly what to do. Sometimes it works out because just like in football, sometimes you line up, everybody knows, and just one guy overpowers the other. And you see those really hard runs that Brian Robinson will get sometimes. But they just don't. It's just, to me, there are certain things that they could do that would improve the running game so dramatically if they just showed more looks. All they got to do is show more looks of the running. If they did that alone, at least it'd have the defense guessing things. So to me, that's a positive. That's a constructive criticism.
Got it.
Beyond that, what the fuck is the defense? I don't know what I have no. I don't have panacea for the fucking defense. I don't know. I don't fucking know. I know that I want Jack Del Rio gone. I know that if Jack Del Rio goes, I don't know who the fuck steps in. I don't know how you can rehaul a defense midway through a goddamn season. I don't know of anything that works that way. So I have no reason. I have nothing to tell anyone as far as like, hey, yeah, you can do that a little differently. I don't fucking know. Like this game, there was Emmanuel Forbes is going to get burnt by AJ Brown at least this game, right? Still got burnt. AJ Brown did whatever it is he wanted to do on that goddamn football field today. Whatever he wanted to. There's no stopping him. It didn't fucking matter who you had lined up back there. Danny Johnson, Kendall. It didn't fucking matter. You were Swiss cheese to that man. So I don't know what you do. Because I don't think that this is a talentless defense. I do not believe that. It runs counter. There are too many first-round picks and too many guys that have shown flashes so many goddamn times. This defense not getting the job done is a fucking travesty. We thought maybe they'd have a weakness at linebacker, and we thought maybe the secondary would take a little bit of time to get going because of guys like Emmanuel Forbes. What we didn't see happening was they're giving up 40 points to the Chicago fucking Bears, and they not generating enough fucking sacks and just not getting the job done. We didn't see that happening. We thought maybe the offense would take some time to get there. Not that the goddamn defense was a piece of shit.
Yeah. And, when we talk about preseason expectations for this defense, people, and it's not just us locally, even national media was saying this is a top 5 defense, right? So, and this has been the case for years now because we've invested a lot on the player side of things on this defense. And so when I look at the team as a whole, right, just taking a step back from the game itself, because I think you did a pretty good job summarizing it all. This is not a talentless team overall. It is on offense. Jahan Dotson had 8 catches, 108 yards, and a touchdown. Welcome back. It was good for him. Then, like you said, Jamison Crowder looked good in the slot. Logan Thomas made some nice catches. Terry McLaurin. Yeah, there were the couple drops, but Sam could have thrown him better. So, it's just one of those things. But 12 targets for him. We have, as far as I'm concerned, 4 good wide receivers, a solid tight end. Brian Robinson, whenever he touches the ball, looks good. So offensive pieces are there. And if the offensive line plays like they did today, we've got something. Then on the defense, and this is going to transition into our next topic here in a moment. Too many first-round picks, way too much investment, way too much talent to be as bad as the results show, right? So then if you have a talented team, well, then what's the problem? And this is where we get to coaching, as we always do, right? This is where we get to Ron Rivera. Jack Del Rio. Recently, Eric Bieniemy, still kind of Eric Bieniemy. We only ran the ball 16 times. 3 of those were Sam Howell carries. So 13 times. Like, there's no balance. And at this point, it's going to fall on Eric Bieniemy as almost a phantom 6th offensive lineman that is not protecting Sam Howell based on how he's calling the games. He only got sacked once today. That is improvement. If he gets sacked 5 times next week against New England, putting 4 of those on Eric, honestly, because that's how the game's being called. You see it over and over and over again. The guy's getting hit. And today, 52 pass attempts. Amazing that he was only sacked 1 time. That's kind of unheard of, actually. It's almost an anomaly, in the other direction. So I'm curious to see what we talk about bad teams being inconsistent. What do we look like next week? K-Dot, on the subject of the trade deadline, which is on Tuesday, there's some names that have been floated. More specifically, Chase Young and seemingly the more likely candidate, Montez Sweat. Would you move anybody? If so, who? And what would be the strategy here?
I'd also add that I did see around the rumor mill today that Jay Glazer was saying Jonathan Allen wanted out.
I actually do trust Jay Glazer, by the way, typically. So wouldn't be surprised. Wouldn't be surprised if that was an in the moment thing. But anyway, please continue.
I personally, in my heart, don't want to see any of these guys leave because I honestly don't. I think that the talent exists here. They're just not being coached properly, and it's not a right scheme for them. And there is a lack of talent in certain cases behind them that I'd like to see added to the team and what could happen, because I think these guys are truly special. That also being said, I know from a logical standpoint, the idea that in one offseason, knowing our track record as a team and re-signing guys, there's a likelihood that at least one of these guys is going to walk. It won't be that you won't have a situation where you can re-sign them because they're just going to walk. I think along the lines of what we saw with Brandon Sheriff, I would not be surprised if somebody just walked away. Yeah. You can tell they're just tired of everything here. And to give the new ownership, who you just don't know, enough time that are we going to go through another fucking coaching change? Are we guaranteed that that's going to be any better? Do I really want to stick around for this shit if I could just go somewhere else that maybe run better? I don't blame them. So from an organizational standpoint, I can say logically, I wouldn't mind getting draft capital for at least one of them.
Yeah.
That being said, how in the fuck do you allow a lame duck coach and front office make a decision for the long term on this team if they're not going to be here to do anything? I hate that. If these guys are going to be gone, which I think is a very big likelihood, I don't want them making decisions on what the fuck the rest of the team's going to like. I'd rather roll the dice until we get there next year. Honestly, because it's just, no, fuck that. Like, no, you don't get to trade away the talent and start fucking tanking for what? I don't know. I'm not cool with that. I'm not cool with people making decisions that won't be around here to see the fruition of any of it.
Yeah, I'm on the same page as you. I don't see why this coaching staff that is in win now mode, they've said so for multiple years now, would trade some of their most talented players for draft picks that they won't even get to use. Presumably, let's see what ownership ultimately decides. I think we all know what they will decide, but you don't know until you truly know. I don't see anyone moving because I don't think it makes sense. So unless someone's literally just, banging the door to go, get me the fuck out of here right now, I don't see you trading anybody. That's what I think. I just wanted to take a quick aside because it just hit me, and maybe it's the jet lag talking, but I was thinking about Eric Bieniemy some more, and I was like, why don't we have that balance, right? We think about the identity of this team overall. Historically, it's been running the ball, and then, you'll throw off of it. Maybe you'll do some play action off of it, or it's semi-conservative game plan. You occasionally take your shot downfield, but it's not, 4 wide, 5 wide, 4th and 1, for example, today. We go 5 wide with Brian Robinson in motion, and it ends up being an incomplete pass. Like, why can't we run that? And it occurred to me that the better Sam plays, the stronger Eric's case is for head coach next season here. It's also a strong bit on his resume to go somewhere else if he can make Sam Howell look really, really good. So I'm now thinking And I'm curious as to your take, K-Dot. And for those that are watching right now, this is not rehearsed before. And literally, I'm so jet lagged. This just hit me. Having him drop back 40, 50 plus times a game and seeing a day like today is a good thing for Eric Bieniemy, right? He is able to get a lot out of a 5th round pick, bit of a smaller guy, and he's developing a connection with him, trust with him. What do you think about that take? Sorry to take away from the trades for a moment. It's a passing league, right?
Yeah, it's a passing league. But
Kansas City doesn't even do this level of imbalance. They have
No one
Patrick
does.
Mahomes.
This is historic. They're like, as far as dropbacks to pass,
I think he is trying to say I put up huge numbers on offense. This was over 400 yards today. Done that a couple times. So like, I think for him, he's looking at it from the statistics perspective. And if he can get Sam to put up monster numbers, he goes, this is my offense.
Yeah, but it's also the team to put up 7 points against the New York Giants. Like the thing with me is that there's a lack of consistency. And that, like, I'd like to see, so what I'd like to see happen is going into the bye, Ron Rivera, see a guy, and Eric Bieniemy, what can you do as a head coach? And then we run that trial period, right? Just to see what happens. That being said, I do think that it is a feather in Eric Bieniemy's hat. The more well Sam Howell plays, of course, he gets a lot of credit for that. But in that same token, you are not going to have a quarterback healthy long enough if he has to do what he's doing right now. That is a foregone conclusion. He will not be healthy if he gets hit at the rate that he's getting hit. It's an impossibility. Like Brett Favre, the Iron Man, right? Who lost enough brain cells that he didn't know whether or not I just play. Like, that's just what he did. Sam Howell is getting the shit kicked at him. The human body can't take that sustainably. And if that's going to be the case, and this is what you have with it, you have to do different things to protect him. Like, you can't just if you're going to do this, cool. I hope it looks good with Jacoby Brissett after fucking week 10 or week 12, because Sam's got his brains bashed in. And to me, there's also the glaring thing as far as that imbalance on the rushing attack. I've gone past they just need to run for the sake of running. The running is completely ineffective. The running's ineffective because of what they're telegraphing run-wise. If there's anything positive that usually comes from running, it's due to effort, not scheme. It's just effort and not scheme. They're willing something to try to come with it. All the runs seem so much harder than they need to be. If that doesn't get corrected, then I'm sorry, there's a major flaw in your offense. There's a major flaw in your offense.
Yeah, fair enough. I agree with you. I just think that the more I think about it, the more it's beginning to make sense, because otherwise it is inexplicable, the level of imbalance that we have right now. That's just my take on it.
It's the strangest thing also because he's a running back guy.
Yeah. Well, also, we have linebackers as coaches. So, but David Mayo, like, I mean, anyway, K-Dot, so I think you and I are on the same page. Just to summarize the trade bit, we don't want trades to happen.
No.
Yeah. I don't think any trades will happen. I could see Jacoby Brissett moving, but I don't actually think anyone's going to move as much as people are talking about. That call,
but
yeah,
from Cleveland, I made that call, but I'm not going to say I don't think it happens. I don't know. I don't know what's happening with this organization. Because even the stories to me was the idea that whether or not we won the Philadelphia Eagle game today would be the deciding factor on whether or not guys got traded, which is something that was kind of the narrative for this trade deadline, was like, if we win against the Eagles, then we're still in the race, so we're going to keep trying.
So Josh Harris, right, literally just came from the NBA, right, where they do this buy-sell deadline. Like, the NFL doesn't do it nearly as much. They're beginning to.
Totally different thing.
Yeah, they're beginning to a little bit, but this is, I think, something that Josh would be bringing. I think if a trade were to occur, Josh has a guy where he goes, if we were to get a second round pick for Chase Young, do it.
Pull the trigger.
Yeah. I think it would be something like that where he already, excuse me, already has like a valuation in mind and goes, I authorize this trade. In fact, I'm doing this trade. And that's all there would be to it. I don't think any sort of trade is being allowed or sanctioned by Josh Harris by just letting Ron and co do whatever they want to.
I hope not.
I hope not to. I would be very surprised if the current group of coaches and front office is able to. But it's new ownership.
Nothing shocks me with this organization.
Fair enough.
I do want to talk about one other person though before we bounce out of this. Which is Ron Rivera. Not calling the challenge on that fourth down, Devontae Smith, and then the press conference afterwards, where his explanation for it. I'm going to reiterate something that me and you have both said a few weeks ago. Ron, what the fuck do you do? What do you do? Are you sitting there waiting for someone in the box to tell you it's a good idea to challenge this? So it's not up to you. It's not your decision. You wait for someone else to tell you. So maybe the replay operator at FedEx Field has more power or control than you do on whether or not you just throw the fucking challenge for that because you know it's something that's if you see Philadelphia trying to run up to that goddamn line, you throw it. That's where the you being a head coach, you make these sort of decisions. Ron Rivera, what the fuck do you do? What do you do? What do you do? Every single fucking week, more is proven that you don't do a goddamn thing. And it's really annoying me. It used to be, it's been a long time since it was just, oh, shucks, that's just how Ron is. He's just not paying attention to the details. Now it's, brother, I love you. I think you're a great man, but you might be losing your shit.
I'll make it even easier. I mean, there are probably a handful of challengeable opportunities in a game, right? You get 2. You're up 7. It's a fourth down. So if you're right and it is incomplete, then you get the ball. You've got the entire sideline. And I know it's an NFL sideline going, incomplete, whatever, but it is right next to the sideline. Mm-hmm. You got a bunch of guys doing that. And like you said, you see Philly rushing. That is more than enough that you don't need a replay, in my opinion. It is also worth throwing the flag and getting a few extra seconds while the ref jogs over to you to see if you find anything. And you can go, actually, no. Or you challenge it anyway. You effectively use it as a timeout. Still have one. That's the thing. It's not like you can challenge every single play. There are probably about 5 plays a game where you can challenge and it's worth it. That is absolutely one of them.
It's so glaringly one of them.
So that's just like literally from a probability standpoint, from an expected value standpoint, throw the fucking flag. Even if you're wrong, throw the flag. This is the same thing with going for 2 the first time we played Philly. Even if you're wrong, it's all right. Like, it is one of those things.
It's just
behind.
Do something. Can I blame you for anything? I don't know, because you don't do anything.
Yeah.
I can't. What? It
doesn't talk at halftime.
Then
doesn't throw the challenge flag.
And then asking the reporter, I didn't even see if it was complete. Was it complete?
I still don't know. That's what he said. I still don't know.
No, what else are you doing? You've just been watching the game. You couldn't do. What are you doing? What are you doing?
I mean, I would love to see a reporter just ask him that.
Ron, what do you do?
JP Finley, NBC Sports.
JP, John Con, any one of you motherfuckers.
A lot of people are asking what you do.
What do you do here? Maybe he's just, I'm just a vibes guy.
or just assume he's gone next season and be like, what are your plans for next season? Like, what are you and your family thinking of doing?
I want to hear anything. Just Ron, what's your? Well, I think my leadership style is more like Michael Scott from The Office, and like just something. Give me something. What is?
I like the idea of Michael Scott. It actually makes sense, which is very upsetting. Oh, and now we got K-Dot smoking. I mean, this is what happens with this team.
It's look, I'm not, but that's the thing. Overall, the most upsetting thing for me about this team and listening about this team the last few weeks, I know that my last week or after the last game, my emotions kind of boiled over a bit because I was just done.
As an aside, your episodes have been absolutely fantastic.
Oh, thanks, man.
I need to say
I miss you. I miss you a ton.
I miss you too.
The show is better with both of us on it.
Very well. I don't know about this one. Okay, so
right,
so maybe other ones. This one's probably
okay.
We probably shouldn't be publishing this one.
I'm not gonna fight you too hard on that. But you know how I feel.
Yes.
The only thing that's made me irate about this team is when the conversations I've been hearing in the media and everything about the long-term thoughts or the trade deadline thing. That to me is getting me to a point where I'm like, I'm cool. I've come to acknowledge that this year is an evaluation year. I've been saying it. Don't want to get too high or too low on anything. Like I'm just kind of a medium about it. But the idea that if I can't have a mostly clean slate going into next year, I'm now getting depressed.
Yeah.
Like I don't want the shit happening here now to impact what's going on next year too much. And I feel as though even if you look on Twitter, last week it was John Allen lost his fucking cool. De'Ami Brown's tweeting that he's fucking sick of this shit. Like it's starting to unravel. And that being the case is not something that I'm okay with. There needs to, I don't know. It feels as though this is starting to become a cancer of sorts. Like it's just, I feel like it's starting to really fucking take some ugly roots here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Jonathan Allen finally broke last week, right? And then you got the Jay Glazer report. Whether you put stock into it or not is entirely up to you. Whether the organization would trade him or not, is an entirely separate question. We're going to see what happens. So like this whole where to from here, I don't think anybody knows, right? You don't know. I don't know. Like
pain. That schedule is not a joke.
That is the only thing probably that we can anticipate. But
if they're already, if the threads are starting to come off now, when you're looking at like playoff time coming, you got Dallas, you got San Francisco, it could get really fucking ugly.
Yeah.
It get really ugly real quick. I just don't feel as though the guys or the team or even the fans know what we're playing for anymore.
Yeah. I mean, Philly today, Jalen Hurts, 29-38, 319, 4 touchdowns. No picks. I mean, like he was great. And by the way, we lost this game when they had 2 essentially goal line fumbles that we recovered. Right? So it could have been, in theory, 52. Right? I mean, like that's so 38 is almost a lower number than it could have been because I mean they fumbled the tush push. Like what was the likelihood of that?
I did run around screaming, fuck you, you bitches. Fuck you and your tush push. And the fuck back up 95 that bullshit. I was so hyped.
Oh, I mean, electric moment.
Oh, I was so hyped. Fuck you and your goddamn Philly Brotherly Show bullshit.
Oh my gosh.
We stopped you. We stopped you. You son of a bitch. Yeah, that's one of those things. But that's the other thing is anytime we look at any success that the team has had over the course of the season, it has mostly been at the behest of the other team fucking up. Not necessarily something we did. They just fuck up.
There is so according to underdog NFL NFL, and this is just before the game. According to Jay Glazer, at least one of Commanders' defensive linemen, Jonathan Allen, Chase Young, Montez Sweat, will get traded this week. I would like to hear Glazer say it directly. If he does, maybe we'll put a short out there just to be like, okay, this is what he actually said. I'm sure someone has it. That is a secondhand tweet. So just to be clear on that, but this idea that one of them will get traded again, that's very, very interesting. Why don't we go ahead and jump over to the comment mailbag? Because Tony wrote to you, K-Dot.
To me.
Yeah, to you. K-Dot, you're killing it, bro. Prayers up for Amit versus A-Train. I much appreciate that, Tony. I still need some prayers at this time. Can somebody explain to me how a former running back, here we go, how a former running back doesn't like to run the ball, Eric Bieniemy, and 2 former linebackers can't find a linebacker, and that'll be Ron Rivera and Jack Del Rio. Tony, first off, K. You did kill it.
Thank you, guys.
And secondly, as I had mentioned, I do need the prayers. Appreciate that. Thirdly, no, I can't explain it. I cannot explain it at all. None of us can. None of this is explicable. This is a talented team. We've called it San Francisco Light in the past. It should be around 4-4, 5-3, maybe even 6-2. But no, we're 3-5. We have Michael Scott at head coach. K. Just did that.
Catch?
It makes a lot of sense to me. Okay, it makes a lot of sense to me. The number of if you made a compilation of Ron Rivera gaffes, and we just posted that would be our most viewed video by far. It would also get a ton of traction, and it would also be like, oh my goodness, he is Michael Scott. He's Michael Scott. Tony, I can't explain it. K. Go ahead. Can you explain it?
It goes back to, I think the lack of running has a lot to do with a schematic just fuck up. And because all right, what I did was because Eric Bieniemy stats or whatever, I tried to pull up Andy Reid's rushing stats as far as per team. And I'm looking at them overall. And in Philadelphia, some years he had a top 10 rushing attack, like 2002, 2003, 2007, 2011. That's it. So from 99 to 2012, he has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times he's a top 10 rushing attack. And I remember thinking about this as far as even remember those Philadelphia days. They always had running backs that were a little outside the norm. Like the you probably look at Deuce Staley is probably the one that was the most traditional back during that period. Then you had like the Brian Westbrook, or
right?
Much more scat backs kind of going around doing some things. That even if you look at Kansas City, one of the biggest criticisms of Kansas City for the longest time, post Larry Johnson, Jamal Charles, which is pre Andy Reid era, is the running attack never looking necessarily good.
Got to shout out Priest Holmes as well. Please continue.
And Priest, right? The Priest Holmes era, all that shit. But then we're looking at 20 years ago. We're old shit. So there's an element of, I just think you have a guy philosophically that is pass happy. I also think what you have is a guy who also doesn't necessarily have enough. He doesn't have experience being the only guy in the room who can tell him about balance or can correct him on that. Ron Rivera has nothing to say because Ron Rivera knows nothing about offense. Who else is in the room that could say, hey, maybe we should look at this kind of rushing attack. Maybe we should look at this kind of thing. The coaching staff doesn't have anybody that has that sort of league history cachet. It's Eric Bieniemy's show. So I think with that is he just needs someone to check him a little bit. And I think that what it comes down to is like I said, I don't think it'll take a lot. We have talent at the running back position. And I think after seeing this game, you cannot blame the offensive line for everything.
No,
and I know it's a new look offensive
That's
line.
a positive, by the way.
Yes.
Offensive line. They were great.
But I think I don't think the offensive line played dramatically different than they typically play. I think the time to throw in the sense of when it is that Sam Howell's releasing the ball because of the scheme of the play was very different this week than it has been.
Both. I think both. Yeah.
I do think Tyler Larson, Chris Paul being there, even though Chris Paul with some bad penalty at one point. The offensive line did look better. But I cannot stress enough how much I think the slants, the screens help out tremendously. It not only does it limit the ability of time for the defense to get to you, it also keeps them honest. They can't sell out because
it ends up being a stretched run game. You can use it as an extension of the run game, especially screens in particular. These are very, very easy completions, and you get space with blockers just on a side instead.
Yes, but there are situations where you do need to still run the fucking ball.
I agree.
And if any time that I see you're in a running situation, I see where you're lined up, and I know if they're going to run the ball, it's going right there. Then the defense knows exactly what to look for. And that's why you see a lot of times Brian Robinson will get the ball at like 1st and 10 and he stopped 2 yards in the backfield because everybody knows where it's going.
Right.
I was calling it on TV. I'm like, run on the left, run on the right, run on the left. And it's like, it's few and far between the defense. And we've heard that. We've heard defensive players talk about Washington's easy to figure out. They telegraph things. They're easy to figure out. And I think that if he just adds a couple things to it, but why isn't Antonio Gibson and Brian Robinson on the field at the same time? I think that alone.
I think would be great. I think they view
itself
Curtis
helps the running game.
Samuel as the second guy with one of them.
And we
But
saw that
I
early
like
in
the
the
two of them
season.
together. Yes, we
saw
did.
that early in the season, and they got away from it. If you just show, you'd call it a wrinkle. Just show a little bit. Just show something to keep the guys so we don't know. They don't have to sell out for this thing.
Uh-huh.
If he does that and that alone, the offense will take 2 steps forward. I promise you the offense will take 2 steps forward.
Okay, so here's the final question, K-Dot. Just for fun, before we sign off here. Let's say one defensive lineman definitely gets traded. Definitely. Okay. Which one do you think it is?
Montez.
I'm gonna go Chase. I don't want any of these guys to go because I do think it's the coaching, but we'll see what happens. Again, that is Tuesday. I want to say 4 p.m. is the deadline. But I need to double check that. But anyway, this was District Divided, DC Sports Podcast, more specifically a Washington Commanders podcast. Thank you guys so much for listening. I am Amit. That is K-Dot. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe to the channel. Comment, as you guys always do. We really appreciate that. Hit the notification bell. And K-Dot,
share this shit.
You gotta share this shit. It's good. Maybe not this one exactly, just because of how jet lagged I was, but K-Dot was great. K-Dot's always great. But for the next episode, very much looking forward to seeing you guys with a little more energy and juice, as A-Train likes to participate in. We will see you guys Friday, 2 p.m.
Ooh.
Got the Patriots. Till then, take it easy.
In DC, we're just hoping that you listen.